The explosive narcissist. Society thinks dangerous personalities are obvious. Wrong. But let's start with the only type that actually is. The explosive narcissist. He's dangerous, yes, but dangerous in the amateur way. Explodes in public, makes scenes, destroys relationships with the subtlety of a nuclear bomb. Everyone sees, everyone knows, and that's exactly why he's on the lowest rung of this ladder. This type operates with an ego so fragile that any criticism becomes an existential threat. You question him? Prepare for screaming, threats, maybe violence. He needs to be the center of the universe, and when he's not, he implodes, taking everything with him. The problem? He's predictable. You can see the explosion coming from miles away. Studies show that explosive narcissists have easily identifiable behavioral patterns, which means their victims can escape, can cut contact, can protect themselves. And that's why he doesn't even come close to the top. Real danger doesn't scream. Real danger whispers with a smile on its face. This one is loud, obvious, and relatively easy to neutralize. Just don't feed the ego. He loses power when he loses the audience. The manipulative borderline. Borderline personality disorder. Society romanticizes it as emotional intensity. The reality? It's emotional instability that affects everyone around it. This pattern operates in cycles of idealization and devaluation. First week, you're perfect, the soulmate, the only person who understands. Second week, you're seen as a threat who will abandon them like everyone else. And you didn't change anything. What changed was their perception of you. The challenge here isn't obvious conflict. It's the emotional unpredictability that exhausts you over time. Self-harm threats often become control mechanisms. If you leave me, I'll hurt myself. You become stuck in a pattern that repeats because the fear of abandonment persists. Research indicates that 75% of partners experience stress symptoms, not from physical harm, but from chronic psychological strain. You exist in constant uncertainty, never knowing which emotional state will emerge. Interesting how severe emotional dysregulation gets reframed as intense passion. The harm compounds over time because it's subtle and accumulative. You don't recognize the toll until significant damage has occurred. The opportunistic sociopath. No guilt, but with impulse. That's the signature of the opportunistic sociopath. He doesn't plan to destroy you. But if the opportunity appears and destroying you is convenient, he'll do it without hesitation. Unlike the narcissist who needs validation or the borderline who acts from emotional desperation, the sociopath acts on pure cost-benefit. He steals, lies, betrays, manipulates, not from anger or fear, but because at that specific moment it was worth it. The problem is the impulsivity. He doesn't have the self-control of the psychopath, who will meet soon. So he commits stupid crimes, leaves trails, explodes into violence when frustrated. You can catch him because he's incompetent at his own evil. A thief who robs the neighbor's house. A scammer who uses his own ID. An aggressor who attacks in front of cameras. This type fills prisons because he can't hold the impulse long enough not to get caught. The absence of remorse combined with lack of planning creates a prolific but mediocre criminal. He causes real damage. Up to 60% of inmates have strong sociopathic traits, but he causes traceable damage. The difference between sociopath and psychopath? The sociopath is the wolf that barks before biting. Dangerous? Yes. Lethal? Rarely. Because danger you see coming stops being quite so dangerous. The Machiavellian strategist. Now we enter truly terrifying territory. The Machiavellian doesn't act on impulse. He acts by design. This type sees human interactions as a chessboard. Every conversation is a move. Every relationship is a piece. Every person is a resource to be exploited or discarded according to utility. And unlike previous levels that leave visible emotional carnage, the Machiavellian operates in total invisibility. He doesn't yell, doesn't explode, doesn't threaten. He smiles, agrees, fakes perfectly calibrated empathy. Meanwhile, he's 3 steps ahead calculating how to use you. Need a promotion? He'll sabotage your colleague with such elegance it'll seem like an accident. Want control? He'll isolate you socially, making everyone think it was your decision. The manipulation here is pure science. He studies emotional triggers like an engineer studies physics, knows exactly which string to pull to make you dance. And the worst part, you never notice. When you finally understand what happened, he's already 5 moves ahead, destroying someone else. Know why politicians and CEOs score high in Machiavellianism? Because power systems reward exactly this type of strategic cruelty. The Machiavellian is dangerous because he transforms destruction into invisible art. You don't even know you're being poisoned until you're already socially dead. The charming psychopath. Charisma without conscience. That summarizes the charming psychopath. And that's why he's above the Machiavellian on the ladder. The Machiavellian needs to calculate, plan, think 3 steps ahead. It's work. The psychopath, he just is. The lack of empathy isn't a moral choice. It's neurological absence. Brain scans show almost 0 activation in the amygdala when they see suffering. To them, your pain is as relevant as a rock feeling cold. But here's the sinister trick. They know how to imitate emotions perfectly. They spent their entire lives observing humans like an anthropologist studies alien tribes. They know when to smile, when to seem concerned, when to fake love. And they do it with a fluidity that fools even trained professionals. This type doesn't destroy you for strategic gain like the Machiavellian. They destroy because they can, because they were bored, because they wanted to test how far they could go. Ted Bundy worked at a suicide hotline while killing women. Charm and monstrosity coexisting without any internal conflict. The brutal difference? The Machiavellian feels something when hurting you. Maybe satisfaction, maybe nothing. The psychopath literally feels nothing. You're an object. And objects don't deserve moral consideration. They don't break social rules out of rebellion. They simply don't understand why the rules exist. The functional sadist. Pleasure in pain, but with surgical control. The functional sadist is the terrifying upgrade of the psychopath because he adds an element the others don't have. He doesn't hurt you out of boredom or strategic gain. He hurts because he likes it. Because feeling you suffer activates the reward centers in his brain the same way sex or food activates yours. But here's what separates him from the common sadist. Self-control. He doesn't act on impulse like the sociopath. He chooses when, where, how, and how much. Knows exactly how far he can go without getting caught. Works as the boss who methodically humiliates subordinates without ever crossing HR lines. Operates as the partner who destroys self-esteem with millimetric precision, always stopping before you have real proof. Studies in corporate environments identify that about 6% of leaders demonstrate sadistic traits. And these are the ones who cause the highest employee turnover and highest burnout rates in teams. Because they engineered environments where psychological torture is official policy. This type is more dangerous than the psychopath because the psychopath is indifferent to your suffering. The sadist cultivates it as a hobby. You're not just an object, you're entertainment. And unlike the psychopath who might kill you quickly, the sadist wants to keep you alive and suffering for as long as possible. Cruelty without pleasure is efficiency. Cruelty with pleasure is dark art. The dark empath. Empathy used as a scalpel. Welcome to the evolutionary nightmare that psychology took decades to name. The dark empath has something all previous levels don't. Real cognitive empathy. He feels what you feel, understands your wounds, your fears, your deepest desires, and uses every piece of that information as a customized weapon of destruction. Imagine a psychopath who truly understands emotions, a sadist who knows exactly where it hurts most, a Machiavellian who doesn't need to guess your triggers because he literally feels them. That's the dark empath, the most lethal combination of the dark triad with functional empathic ability. He enters your life as a savior, as the only person who truly understands you. And he does understand that's precisely why he can destroy you with precision the other types only dream of. Knows when you're vulnerable, knows which phrase will break you, knows how to isolate you, making it seem like it was your choice. The reason he's almost at the top: zero defense. Against psychopaths, you can build emotional barriers. Against the dark empath, you open all doors thinking you finally found someone safe. And when you realize you're bleeding, he's already extracted everything he wanted. Evolution created empathy to connect us. They hacked the code to destroy us. Even worse, they usually occupy helping professions. Therapists, coaches, counselors, where access to your wounds is part of the job. The status predator, the top of the ladder. And here evil stops being individual. It becomes institutional. The status predator doesn't need to dirty his own hands. He built or conquered positions of power where the system does the dirty work for him. CEO who grinds thousands of lives with a PowerPoint decision. Politician who approves laws knowing they'll kill people but increase his political capital. Religious leader who uses faith as a tool for mass control. This type combines everything from previous levels. The psychopath's absence of remorse, functional sadism, the dark empath's instrumental empathy, Machiavellian planning, but adds something unique: scale. He doesn't destroy you. He destroys entire populations and sleeps peacefully because it was necessary for the greater good. Institutional protection makes them untouchable. They sue those who accuse them, buy silence, rewrite narratives, and the most terrifying part, society often celebrates them. Visionary billionaire who treats employees as disposable. Hero general who commits atrocities in the name of the nation. Historical data is brutal. Genocides, intentional financial crises, wars for profit, all architected by status predators who never stepped foot in a prison. The difference between a serial killer and a dictator: the serial killer doesn't have a press secretary. They're the top because they transformed monstrosity into corporate policy. Evil isn't in the shadows. It's in the boardroom with a panoramic view. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See in the next video, antisocial personality disorder. Society thinks this is the most dangerous. Movies, series, documentaries, all obsessed with the psychopath. Wrong. This one's on the lowest rung for one simple reason: ridiculously low body count.